Bruchim Aboim, Baruch Shechianu V'Kiyanu, Yimanu Lazman Hazeh, to the 25th annual summer program Kiddush Hashem V'Egin Shirei Torah, Flatbush and worldwide. I'd like to give a big yeshikach to Mr. and Mrs. Nora Karas, sponsoring the Shir, the Nishmas Yisha Gittel Chana Bas, Rabban HaKohen, Allah Shalom, and the Nishmas Chaim Yitzchak Ben Avrom, Zechon Levrocha. There are many sponsorship opportunities available throughout the summer to help Egin Shirei Torah bring these shiurim to the tzibur, those who are participating in person, those who are listening on the phone, those who are watching, and those who will be listening later or watching later. Have the great schus of the Sabbath Torah, the Rabbin, call Egin Shirei Torah at 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com to have the great schus of Sabbath Torah, the Rabbin, sponsoring a shir. It could be the Nishmas, if it was also for Shlema, if it was chus, for whatever you may need. Tonight we have the cover to have with us Rabbi Fishel Schachter Shlita, noted Margaret Shir, Shuvtara Das, Darshim Meforsim, on the greatness of failure. It's my cover to call on Rabbi Schachter for tonight's drasha.
Okay, Shkoyach everyone for coming. A lot of people wish me hatzlacha on the failure tonight. So Baruch Hashem, we're here. Only makes sense to ask, how was your year, Rabbi Say? It's been a year since last time we were here at Egin Shirei Torah in the Boston of Beis Medrash. Nothing really happened this year exciting, did it? Like out of the ordinary, did it? No, it was like just a regular year. Was it not? The answer is that there's always a lot happening. I think somebody once asked me, how do you touch up the difference between this year and other years? So I said, there are always individuals. I speak to enough individuals. And the older you get, you have the experiences of your own life. There are always individuals that go through storms in their life. Hurricanes, typhoons, tornadoes, and our lives are ripped apart to shreds and crisis after crisis. I don't think that's, as far as the Yachid is concerned, there are always Yechidim going through it, but they're Yechidim. I think the only thing that's different this year is that it's happening to a rabbin. Not only to a rabbin, but basically to the entire world. So Tzaras Rabbin Chatzi Nechama. And I think that requires a little bit more of that we take a closer look at it. When it's happening to the tzibur, what as a tzibur should we do? Change direction. Well, which way should I go? I don't even know where I'm coming from. Which way should I go? So there's a famous story of a train. There was a terrible train crash. And of course they needed someone to sue. They needed someone to blame. They couldn't blame President Trump yet because he wasn't born yet. So they blamed the poor guy that stood there with a light that's supposed to give directions of the train. There was no sophisticated signaling system. There was the guy stood there with a light, this way, pretty much like the New York City subway system. And this person stood there, and they said to him, these two trains crashed. Did you do your job? If you were callous in your job, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. And it's like, come on, I get paid $4 an hour. And I mean, like, I spend the guy, the CEO of the railroad, that's sitting up there, he doesn't have to worry about making a mistake and going to jail for it. I have to go to jail for it. I always wondered about that, how that works. There was a story of an elevator repairman that by mistake left the door open, stepped away for a second, and somebody walked in and fell to the death, and he was arrested for negligent homicide. And I think to myself, as much as if you're an elevator repairman, I'm not taking sides on this. Obviously, you can't leave doors open. But like, here's a guy, could have stayed home and just done a list in a job. I don't think he gets paid too much, and decides to go out and work for a living, and he makes a mistake, and he turns around and leaves the door open. And suddenly he's in jail the rest of his life? Hey. All right, different shmooze. We're going to a lot of different schmoozes here till we get back down to our thing. So this poor guy, they interrogate him, and he tells his wife, I flunked this interrogation. I'm finished. They said, was it late at night? Yes. And you were supposed to hold up the lantern? Yes. And when the train that was going west to east was coming, what did you do? I went. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do. And when the train was going, coming in the opposite direction, north-south, what did you do? I went, you did all of that? Yes, you're sure. I can tell when someone's lying. No, I did it! And he shows all his hand motions, and they say, okay, Lamaisa, he did it. So you're Potter. And he walks away and he tells his wife, shoo! They say, what? I saw you. They asked you if you held the lantern in the right direction or you moved. Yeah, I know. They didn't ask me if I remembered to turn on the light. That question they didn't ask. I think our job is to turn on the light within ourselves. Which direction we're going, one Borei Olam knows. Anyone that thinks in this time that we know which direction we're going is very, very mistaken. Turn on the light. Stop with the politicians and the economists and the experts that are constantly contradicting each other. Borei Olam, what do you want me to do? The other person that came to a psychiatrist and said, doctor, I dreamt the number 5. What does that mean? He didn't go to a tzaddik. He went to a makubah. He went to a psychiatrist. So a psychiatrist told him, it's your lucky number. I'm looking at your chart. Weren't you born 5/5/1955? He goes, yes. Isn't your address 555 5th Street? He goes, yes. Isn't your salary $55,555.55? Yes. This is your lucky number. He walks out, he passes the horse track. It's my lucky number. He mortgages his house, comes in there, and he bets on horse number 5. And horse number 5 came in 5th. It's Taka his lucky number. Our job isn't to outsmart Hashgacha. Our job isn't to tell the world in which direction we're going. To sit there in the mikveh and say Trump should do this and Biden should do that, he should stay undercover, and turn on the light in yourself. So there was Alexander the Great, which was his official last name, by the way. Under the phone book it said Alexander the Great. That on his credit card it said Alexander the Great. We know that. He walked around with a T-shirt that said Alexander the Great. We know that because they recently looking for statues at the bottom of the river. There's a whole bunch of them, and they found the statue of Alexander the Great, and he was wearing a T-shirt that said Alexander the Great. I'm not sure that's true, but again, along with the other fake news, it fits in just fine. Listen, it's more true than a lot of the news, okay? As a matter of fact, I think in Alexander the Great's time, everybody walked around with a T-shirt that said Alexander the Great, if you wanted to get home alive. Everyone walked around with a cap that said Alexander the Great, because if not, you didn't have a head to put the cap on afterwards. Alexander the Great, amongst his many other things, he was a philosopher, a philosopher, because anyone that had any cheshivos in that time had to be, he was a Talmud of Aristotle, you had to be a philosopher. Another story, they went to, when I read a shidduch, they told the girl that your son, this so-called chassan, or potential chassan, he's a great writer, and he's a great speaker. And just, he's not the biggest chacham. She said, great, so the whole world will hear, I'm not married, not to the biggest, he wouldn't be a writer, wouldn't be a speaker, at least not everybody would know about it, right? And a philosopher also. So the Gemara says that Alexander came to the chacham of a certain town, and the Yidden, he always had a problem with the Yidden, because the Yidden were willing to respect him. You know what the Gemara says in Masechta Sanhedrin. My father used to learn that Gemara with me all the time. That, Shimon HaTzadik went out to warn him. Alexander got off the horse, and he bowed down toward him, which he didn't do for anybody. And Shimon HaTzadik asked him not to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, and he listened. He just made 3 conditions with him. One is that every single child that's born should be named Alexander. That year, that's where the name Sender, Alexander, comes to Yidden, and a certain amount of taxes. But Lamaisa, so the Gemara says he came to a certain Chachamim, and he challenged them, and he said, Ezel Chacham. So they said, Ezel Chacham, Harayis Anoilad. Ezel Gibar, Kardish Yitzray. And that's what I'm saying. Ezel Asher Esamech Bechelkai. And he walked away dejected. He said, he lost the philosophy fight. So I forgot who I saw it, but one of the Chassidish Sroida Bas Ayin talks about it. And he says like this. He said to him, Ezahu Chacham. They said, Arayis HaNoilad. So he said to them, how could you see HaNoilad? If you're a chacham, I can analyze the stock market and try to figure out if it's going up or come down. I can analyze the political scene and try to pick if the Democrats are going to win the Senate and the Congress. I can do all of that. But a royal said, no, how can I see somebody that wasn't born yet? How can I see somebody that wasn't born yet? So they told him, yeah, a chacham understands that you're not so smart because there are things that are going to be born that all of your chacham in the world is not going to see, is not going to understand. How goof is what they told him. Ezel chacham, harayas hanolet. Someone that sees, you can be as smart as anything, but it means nothing. Nobody last year said, if I would have been standing on this very same platform last year, and I would have said a couple of pounds less on the platform. That's the platform's problem. And I would have said, Rabbi Sai, I have this premonition, okay? Then next year you're going to be sitting here on 3 different floors so that you're all 6 feet apart. You'll be looking at me. And you're going to be sitting in the Beis HaMedrash, yes, Yud Daled Tammuz, not Yud Daled Adar, Yud Daled Tammuz, and you're going to be wearing masks. And shoes will be closed, and camps will be closed, and you would say, should we call a seller? Should we not? What's with this? What happened to you? You're giving too many speeches. You should really calm down a little bit. It's getting to your head. And the teretz is, if I would have said that last year, either I would have been about Ruach HaKodesh, which I wasn't. Now, I'm not going to talk about it, but then I for sure wasn't. Or it was Sam Meshuggah. I think the Brisker Rav once said this about someone that was predicted something and it happened. He's still a Meshuggah. This is a pink aluminum, you know? It just happened that what he predicted doesn't mean he's not a Meshuggah. No rational person in the world would have predicted last year where we are now. So what's the teretz? Teretz is Nolad. The Eibush is constantly creating new things. That's why most of our worries, says Rav Tzadok, is really foolish because we don't know what Hashem is going to recreate tomorrow. Not in our personal lives, and not for the life, not for the world in general. So they told Alexander, you have a cheshbon. You conquered the entire world. Maradik! Ezel chacham. Well, the real chacham is a royas ha'maylet. He knows that Kadosh Baruch Hu, new things are born. But there's no way a chacham can know what's born. That's right. So a chacham knows there's no way he can know what's born. Ezel gibor ha'kodesh yitzray. Seems that you still have a very serious problem when someone doesn't wear Alexander the Great shirt. So you're missing something. That's a concern. It's Rachmanis. Yeah, but I've invaded country after country. So you see, you're not a Samech B'chelka. Yeah, but I'm taking in the entire world. Even less of an Ashir. The more he proved how strong he is, the more they proved that shows you're lacking in something. And he walked away kind of dejected. And I think that this is what we have to focus on ourselves. Izal Ashir Sameach B'chelka. I'm not here to fix the world. I'm not here to help the Israelis or Americans or Chinese or the Canadians or whoever it was, the Bulgarians that did the cyber attack on Iran. We don't know who did it. I'm not here to help them. I'm here to daven mincha. I'm here to daven ma'ariv. I'm here to smile at my wife. I'm here to smile at my kids who either are going to camp or are not going to camp. I'm here to open the light. Direction, I don't think anyone knows direction. No one knows direction. I'm here to open the light. It's a beautiful book. I'm not a book salesman, but from Yisrael Gellis to Oscar put out Ish Yerushalayim, and he has stories there. And he says, tonight's the Orchaim HaKodesh's yahrzeit. And on Har HaZeisim, the Orchaim HaKodesh is one of the few kvarim that was found intact. And everyone knows the story that the Arabs tried to mow it down, and the tractor turned over. And he says, he writes there, I don't think he's lying, he said, I saw the turned over tractor. He was there in I forgot when it was. But when he grew up in Yerushalayim, he spoke Arabic. He said, I saw it. It's not a storybook. I saw it happen. So being that tonight's the Orchaim HaKodesh's yahrzeit, and we live in a very, very confusing world. You know how confusing is the world? You know the story? This person is coming to Kol Nidrei, and as he walks in, someone says, are you ready for Yom Kippur? I think so. Are you ready for Yom Kippur? I think so. Are you going to do the mitzvah of tshuva? Yeah. But if you weren't chotei, you didn't do any aveira, and you're going to do tshuva, it's a shaila of tshuva labatala. I never heard such a thing. I'm telling you. Really? There's a shaila? I heard of a bracha labatala. Could be tshuva labatala. And if the Shechianu on Yom Kippur goes on the tshuva, and Melech Smoichel v'Saleach, and Yitaka never did a chait, could be a shail of bracha levatala. Because, do you remember any Aveira? No, I don't remember doing any Aveira. The entire year? Zman Kriya Shema, all the time, yeah. You better quickly go do an Aveira. Because I don't have much time. It's like 5 minutes to Shkia, hurry up. He runs out there. What do you suggest? See that guy up there on the porch? Yeah. Go up there and punch him in the nose. Chalashitas l'chaladayas. Puts on his gartel. Shefa mitzvahs punching him in the nose. Yismash l'chalayel yislichayim aruchu shefa kodesh yiska l'tshuva. And he walks up and he does the wind up and he gives the guy a zetz. He doesn't know what hit him. And he goes flying down. The whole chair turns over. Baruch Hashem in Aveira. And out comes the person shviger and he goes, you just did such a mitzvah, unbelievable. Because there I go. I did a mitzvah. I'm supposed to do an Aveira. I wound up doing a mitzvah. Right? Confusing word. Listen to the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Parshas Balak. Ke'oiholim nata Hashem. Yaakov ish tam. Yoishay v'holim. We're in an oil. In Golus, we are in an oil. We may be in a house, maybe in a very beautiful house. We may even have a house in South Fallsburg and a co-op in Miami, and a house in Borough Park and a house in Flatbush. But guess what? We're Yoshev Eiholim. In Golus, you're in oil. Ke'oiholim nota Hashem. What does nota Hashem mean? Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Nota means to plant. But Amar Loshin Netiyah, Kenetiyah Hazai. It's just like a young sapling. It's like a young tree. Shekol shehi misyasheves. The more the tree takes root, the more the tree endures storms, the more the tree endures winter and summer, what actually happens is, moisif shroshim, it adds on roots, the achiza, it has a stronger achiza b'yanikasa where it draws its energy from. Kamoikein, the same is true, says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, for loimdei Torah. Kozman shemarach be'esek Torah, the more they're learning Torah during storms, the more they're learning Torah during turbulent times, the more we're learning Torah when we're challenged, toisef l'hishtarish nafshay bas. I read a fascinating story. That there was a man, there was someplace, there was a tree in front of the housing complex, and one person came out and he kept watering the tree. He was always watering the tree. And then Hurricane Sandy came and right, we thought that's the worst thing in the world. Well, it was if you wound up underneath the water, but anyway. And the trees came crashing down, and everyone had to get together to replant the trees. So he tined that he put in more work into the trees than anyone else did. And the Yotze, he put in more work. He shouldn't have to pay so much money because he was Yotze with the work that he put in. So they went to a Din Torah, a lot of Gurmi and Grum over there, and the Rav said that he looked into it and studied it. And it turned out that it could be you owe everyone else the money for the trees. He says, why? I went out and I watered the tree every single day. So he told them that the nature of a tree is that when it doesn't have water, the roots start to spread under the ground in different directions looking for moisture. And as the roots spread in all different directions, the tree takes hold stronger on the ground. And because you kept babying the tree and you kept watering it, that's why the roots never spread. And because the roots never spread, so it was much more likely that the tree fell in. Think about this, what the Orach Chaim HaKadosh is saying. In Golus, we are Kaiholim Nata Hashem. Yaakov ish tam. Why was Yaakov complete in his Torah? Why was Yaakov, Midasei Emes, able to be the one that gave over Torah for all future generations? Because he was Yoishev Eiholim. Lilmoid Le'atzmai. And what does it mean, Kaholim Nota? Yaakov always understood I'm in an oil. He was never shocked. The judge said we can't open camps. I'm not saying Chas v'Shalom that was directed against Jews. It could have been a very rational safety. I'm getting into it. But we didn't get what we want. This is America. Everyone gets what they want, right? Guess not. Yaakov was never shocked. He was always in an oil. Va'ama loshin netiyah, kenetiyah hazois. Shekol shemis yasheves, the more storms it faces, the longer it sticks into the ground, seeps into the ground. Moisev shroshim v'yachiza b'yanikasa. Kamoy kein loimdei Torah. Kolzman shemarach be'esek Torah toisev l'shtarish nafshi ba, says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. So A, we have to understand we're in a tent. And that's what Golus was always intended to be. And B, the more this tent survives storms, the stronger it is. Stronger it is. The Panovich Rav once came to someone to start his library. So he went to a real rich man, tell me yeshiva, he wants to start a library. And the guy wanted to give him a donation. He said, no, the rich man said, no, Rabbi, no, I'm not. A Talmudical library, it doesn't make sense to me. Panovich Rav was the fundraiser of the generation. And he says to the man, okay, nish is nish, but let me tell you, what's that picture over there? Oh, that picture? That's my great-grandfather. That's your great-grandfather. That's your great-grandfather. Those eyes. The grandeur in his face. Yeah, well, you have those genes. Yeah. Courage. I see in those eyes courage. Oh, yeah. Yes, my eyes, yeah. I'd love to have that picture in my library. Oh, really? I'd be honored. Rabbi, it's yours. Okay. You know, maybe I will give you a check for your library. But tell me, so far, what do you have in your library? Like how many books? He goes, so far, what I have in my library? Yeah, I have a picture. I think it's time to take a picture of ourselves and say that Rabbi Hashem put us here in the matzav that we are in. Every single person sitting here, every single person listening is going through a personal storm because that's what life is all about. And we're in the middle of a storm that's going on in life. And then we have to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mixing these two storms together so that the tent that we are in, Kayaholim Not Hashem, becomes more and more powerful by the minute. I was in a camp over Shabbos. There were Bachrim that had gotten together. They weren't together. Chas Shalom, it wasn't a camp. It was a place. We were there. And, it was the first Seder they had together. First real Seder, social distancing, but they were under the same roof. And then it was the first Kaddish, and the boys broke into a dance. They said it's been 3 months since they haven't been together. And there was such a simcha there. It was like, I was crying. And I said to myself, the Malachim have to be crying. Who knows? Who knows if the Rebbeinu Shalom didn't say, Klal Yisrael needs that dance. And that's how we have to go through what we have to go through. And every challenge has a potential dance afterwards. We are Archaim HaKadosh. We know all the stories of the Archaim HaKadosh, right? We know all of them. We know the famous story that the Yidden, General Rommel in Machshemai was about to run over Eretz Yisrael. It looked like it was curtains for all the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. And they went out to be mispal by the scene of the Archaim HaKadosh. And they saw the Shem Havaya lit up. The Siyatana said he saw it. Everyone saw it. The Siyatana said he saw it. The Shlom Kazavilla said he saw it. Right, famous story. The Archaim HaKadosh is traveling in the caravan in the desert, and he said he made up to stop on Shabbos. And the guy said, "No, we're not stopping. We can't stop because of the virus. We can't stop. But the virus won't be around for another 4,000 years because of the virus. We can't stop." So he got off. Just being a little sarcastic there. So he got off. He got off and said he's staying. He'll never survive. And he sat down all alone in the desert on Shabbos, and a lion approached him. And the lion, guarded him the entire Shabbos. And afterwards, the lion said, "Get on me," and took him to the restaurant. So we would think, well, the Archaim HaKadosh, he, even if he was alone in a desert, he had lions that came to him, and protected him. He didn't worry about it. The whole German army is coming. And he sees the Shem Havaya shines, and Rommel had his Mapala. Open up, come home tonight, or if you're tonight, open up a Chumash, the Archaim HaKadosh, and look in the Hagdama, and see what the Archaim HaKadosh writes himself about what was the impetus in his life for him to write the Archaim HaKadosh. So he writes over there as follows: "V'heina kifuni sa'ar shebe'isasi." I was surrounded with the sa'ar shebe'isa. With me, I'm skipping words, but this is the excerpts of what he says in the Hagdama. He was in Mitzrayim. He was in Egypt. Nirdaf. I was being chased. Dilakuni means they really chased me down. B'tfisa. I was imprisoned. B'mesira. There was a mesira, valila, and false charges. Unegiden. I was beaten. Nagde, right? Elamali nagde lechanani mishal v'yazaria. Nagde means to be beaten. When Nagde biyad in the hands of Tsar Achzari. When Achzari is the officer. Ukeshazeh noifel zeh kam. In other words, I fell and he got up. Be'ein mevateach l'rega mechai l'hargia. It did not look like I would live another second. I didn't have the security of a split second to know that my life is going to go on. Vani and I, says the Archaim HaKadosh. This is him writing about himself. It's not some writer coming up with flowery words. V'ani b'tach imke yam hatzaros al iskei momoin on monetary issues, al iskei nefashos, that they made charges against me. He doesn't tell us the story, what happened, but he says this, Nafshi hitzalti, was able to save myself. Ukeshi yoshev bi'olam chadash, and when I sat in a brand new world, where I actually knew I was going to survive from one second to the next, I made up my mind. I'm not leaving prison. I'm just entering into a different kind of confinement, into a pleasant one. I said, bi'olam chadash yishafti, I'm sitting here, I'm sitting in a different world, a world of Torah, v'lomas mitoch Torah hishafti, because meaning referring to Eina Torah miskayemes ela b'misha meimes atzmei leha. I am totally throwing myself into the world of Torah. And he committed himself then to write the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. He says, Shkoich, he says, Vel Orach Chaim nesata libi, I put my heart to the Orach Chaim, ve'eini v'sichli u'leragli melachti, that everything I would do would be directed. V'lo yicholti loses chelik mehayomim, couldn't give away all my times, but I was kaveya, he says, 4 or 5 hours each week, Friday morning. Why did I pick Friday morning? Because Friday morning is the day we are created. Friday morning is the day that Adam Arisha was created. So every single year, Friday morning, we're in a sense being recreated. That's how he viewed an Erev Shabbos Kodesh. And I felt it looked like I was done for in that prison. It did not look like I was going to survive. And the Eibishter gave me a new world, so I will continue to recreate the new world every single Friday, writing the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, which has become one of the most cherished Pirushim and Chumash and Skula for Yeshuas and Refuos in the history of Klal Yisrael. But look how the Orach Chaim HaKadosh looks at it. It's not that, hey, I got out of prison, yay, whoops, sorrow is over. Forget a God, forget my promises, I found a parking place. What does a person do when he wins the lottery, right? First thing he does, he's matter neder. Right? Doesn't need any Kabbalahs anymore. He said, look, Rabbi Fishel, you took me out of one prison, I'm not taking this for granted. I know you can pull me right back in. I am self-imposing myself into a different world. I thank Shlomi Gatina for telling me the story that I heard from Rebbetzin, one of the Rebbetzin Weinberg from Baltimore, that she saw this, that there was a man on a scaffold, construction worker, that slipped, fell over the scaffold, fell 4 stories, and he landed in a dumpster that happened to be full of mattresses. And he got up without a scratch. And he walked out, and they could not believe he walked out of that dumpster. He fell 4 stories. He did a double thumbs up, and he said, guys, and he pointed to a very disreputable establishment across the street. We'll leave it at that. And he said, guys, it's on me. Come on in. And as he crossed the street, he was hit by a bus and died. The Rebbe Shem says, I just saved you. Why did I save you? The Orach Chaim HaKadosh is saying, I am not going to make that mistake. And I think that that's the message for Klal Yisrael. For us, I shouldn't say for Klal Yisrael, for me. You're around, we've survived so far, okay, what are you doing with it? What are you doing with your survival? What are you committing yourself? I should tell you what? I can't tell you what. I can't open the light for you. I can't give you directions. You have to know which light. You have to know how you are recreated every Erev Shabbos Kodesh. You're recreated. You're a different person. Rabbi Yosef Zundel of Salant. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter's Rebbe. Came to Eretz Yisrael. He was an older person. He came to Eretz Yisrael. He wanted to be a vinegar salesman. It didn't work out. They figured out who he was. They made him the Rav of the Ashkenazi Yidden in Yerushalayim. Short while later, his son-in-law came, Reb Shmuel. Why did his son-in-law, Reb Shmuel, come? Because he had tuberculosis. The doctor said, you have a year to live. You go to Yerushalayim, maybe you'll have 2 years. So he came to Yerushalayim and he had another 70 years? No, exactly. He was nifta 102, 103. Shmuel Salant was the Rav of Yerushalayim. So Rabbi Yosef Zundel had 3 daughters. One son-in-law was Reb Shmuel. Another one I forgot what his name was. Reb Nosson, I don't remember. He was one of the big Chashuv Dayanim. He was on the Bezdin in Yerushalayim. And he had a 3rd daughter, Feiga. And there were no Bachrim in Yerushalayim. When I say there were no Bachrim in Yerushalayim, I mean there were no Bachrim in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Yosef Zundel felt, hey, the Olam is losing it here a little. His family, he said to his daughter, your chassan is going to be on the next boat. And he traveled to Yafo, and he said, where's the Bachar on this boat? Not who, if there is a Bachar. They said he came out, and he looked a little disheveled. One paya this way, one horizontal, one vertical. His glasses a little crooked. You know what I mean? The look. Pants a shtickle as I schlepping. And he said, Come! And he brought him home and he told his daughter, this is the Bachar. Him? Yeah. You know him? No. He got married. A nice guy, but he was what he looked like. So he became the town water carrier. Just great, right? One brother-in-law was the Rav, the other brother-in-law was the Rosh Bezin, he's the town water carrier. And one day he's sitting listening to his two brothers-in-law talk, and he loses it for a second. And he yells out, the Zayda de Taz is basing it on a totally different Rambam. Oops. Well, they found out two things. There's an Einikel of the Taz, and then he's a big guy. So they came running to Rabbi Yosef Zundel. They said, guess what? Guess what? He's an Einikel of the Taz. He's a guy in Ireland. And Rabbi Yosef Zundel said, of course. I said, he's coming off the next boat. At that moment, I had full bitachon. I had full bitachon, it has to be. He wasn't even surprised when they came and they told him who it is. Now, is this a way to do shidduchim? So I'll tell you, I once asked my Mishgiach L'Zangezunt about a certain inyan, and I said, can I rely on bitachon? So he said to me, and I'll never forget these words, he said, I can't answer you because I don't know what your madrega of bitachon is. So I'm relying on my bitachon. How do I know what your bitachon is? If your bitachon was the bitachon of Rabbi Yosef Zundel of Salat, yeah. But it's not pass or fail. It gets to a certain point, there are no other bachurim, so he has to be coming off the next boat. It comes to a certain situation in our life. There is no rational Yeshua to what is going on in our life and what is going on in the world. So therefore, the Bansham, Yeshua is around the corner. Not only is there nothing wrong with thinking that way, but the more we think that way, the more there'll be a Yeshua, even though we're not going to see it right away. We're going to see the guy with the vertical pay and the horizontal pay and the crooked glasses and the pants schlepping on the floor. It's going to take time to find that he's a Einikel of the Taz and that he's a Goen Olam. Rav Shmuel Salant was Rav in Yerushalayim many years, many decades and decades. He had no gaboyim, he definitely did not have a website. They even have a tax number. What he had was a pillar. He leaned on a pillar in the Chor V'Shul, Timin Chamarev, it was famous, he leaned on that pillar, and they used to ask him shilas. So in the Chor V'Shul, there were two pillars that survived, but they were replacement pillars. The original pillar had weakened, they had to take it off, and I don't know if he asked, but it was put onto his matzeva, this pillar. This is where he stood there with Timin Chamarev and just smiled and answered the shilas of all the people, legendary, the great Chacham of Rabbi Shmuel Salant, for decades and decades during Yerushalayim's most difficult moments. It's that pillar. Where's the pillar going? You just have to know where the pillar is going. I'm leaning on you. This is the pillar. This is the Lashon Netiyah, like the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says. Kenetiyah hazois. Shekol shi misyasheves, the more you stay put. I'm just going to keep learning. I'll do what I have to do. Moisev shroshim b'yachiza b'yanikasa. Kamoy Kain says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh are loimdei Torah. Kol zman shemarach be'esek HaTorah, toisiv l'shtarish nafshi bas. So this person was explaining to me today about you heard what happened? The judge refused to put on a TRO. I said, pardon my ignorance. What? What's a TRO? Where are you from? Borough Park. A TRO is a temporary restraining order. So you wanted the judge to put a temporary restraining order on the camps? He shakes his head from side to side. He says the judge was supposed to put a temporary restraining order, because he wanted him to, a temporary restraining order on the governor's executive order that the camps can't open. He refused to do so, citing public safety. Okay. So I said, what would you have gotten out of a temporary restraining order? It only would have been temporary. That means after the judge would have heard all the arguments in the case, he could have decided anyway the camp shouldn't be open. So he said two things. First of all, once you push it off, you push it off. And second of all, generally speaking, in the legal world, it's a known thing that if a judge issues a temporary restraining order, it shows his mahalach of thinking. That's usually a good chance that that side is going to win in the permanent psak. So I said, look, I'm not a legal scholar, and I don't think, I'm sure this judge ruled on the basis of what he thought is the right ruling. And obviously it was the right ruling, because that was the hashgacha, that's the ruling, right? But you just gave me an idea. The Yetzer Hara, he's after us. He wants us to look at something we shouldn't look at. He wants us to take the filter off our phone. He wants us to defund our phones. Somebody goes, defund the police. I say, you just took the filter off your phone, right? You're also defunding your police. You're doing the same thing. We all do it. If we had a chance to do it. We all know I'm not going to get into Yetzer Haras, because if there's, I don't know how many people on the other floors, but if there's 100 people here today, wishful thinking, if there's 100 people, there's 100 different Yetzer Haras here, right? That means everyone has his own personal Yetzer Hara. I can't fight my Yetzer Hara. I can't. I see that plate of spaghetti, ich kann nicht. Issue a temporary restraining order. Eat the spaghetti 20 minutes later. Look at it 20 minutes later. Put a partial filter on your phone. Put on a filter for 6 weeks. Make up you're going to learn with your son an hour a day if he's home from camp. Guess what? It never lasts. Temporary restraining orders set direction. And eventually, the final order seems to follow it. I know that because I'm a legal scholar. I just heard it 5 seconds ago. Put a temporary restraining order on your life. Where are you? So, the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh, in the storybook, he's all alone in the desert. And the lion comes. And the lion protects him. And he sings, Menucha v'simcha v'layodem. And then the lion takes him home. Wow, an Ethiopian world. He's in Eilam Haba. And I don't know, but then the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh tells us this story with his own words. That nirdav de lakuni betfisa b'mesira v'alila negida b'yatzar tzav achzari k'shezeh neufel zakam and be'ema v'tiach l'rega. I don't know if I'm going to live from the next second to the other. Is this the same Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh? And the answer is yeah. Because if you survive one, you're zeicha to the other. You think the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh was born this way, that the lions came and did a curtsy and bowed down in front of it? A lot of storms you have to go through to get to that level. We're not going to get to the level of the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh. But guess what? The more we survive the storms we're going to go through, the more we try to turn on the light, the more we will. So I read someplace, he doesn't think Trump's going to be reelected. I say, why not? Because do the numbers. Numbers, yes. You realize that how he was elected last time? No. Do you realize the slim majority that he had in each of the swing states? It doesn't even make sense that it happened, so it's not going to happen again. I said, how come it happened the first time? So what are you saying? You're saying it was pot luck because it doesn't make sense? I would say, so obviously there was hashgacha. Because statistically it didn't make sense he was going to win, right? Rebbitzin Hillary already had her fireworks prepared. What happened? What happened to a bunch of Shimon in the world? So why do you think he stopped running the world now? Why are you so scared about what's going to happen? He ran the world then. He runs the world now. The outbreak of World War, or the war before World War I, the pre-World War I war, whatever that was, at one point it looked for the Yidden, it was very frightening. When the Derech Chaim was sitting in the back of the wagon, my father used to share the story with me, and somebody said, you know what's going on in the war? You know what's happening over here? And everyone started declaring, what's going to be? Should we run? Should we not run? And the Balagola, the wagon driver, turned around and he said, I know how to drive the wagon, Hashem knows how to drive the world. Quiet! And Derech Chaim said, oh, Yizagerech. Doesn't make sense that he won the first time, so the Hashem is guiding the world, so whatever Hashem does is going to happen again. Whoever made it happen the first time is going to make it. Tonight's also the yard site of the Shagas Aryeh. A famous story, the Shagas Aryeh was Rav in the city in France, Metz, I think. I think he was 78 years old. He was in Golis. He wandered around in Golis. Famous stories about the Shagas Aryeh's Golis. That a woman they came to a place, he had no Shas. There was a woman that had a Shas B'Yerusha, but he said he had to Chazer Shas Polpeh, because if he borrowed the Yevamos Gemara, she wouldn't give it to him again. She said, you already read that book. He had no choice. And once the Rav was giving a drasha, and the Shagas Aryeh asked him a kasha, and everybody was stumped, and the Rav had to walk down from the bima. That never happens now. I don't know why. And then the Rav called him in and said, how dare you? I looked it up, that was the Shagas Aryeh's kasha. This wayfarer stole the Shagas Aryeh's kasha and for shames the Rav with it. They took him and threw him into a prison. The Rav was sitting there and goes, wait a second, let me look into this. And he called him out and said, are you the Shagas Aryeh? You know what I mean? No Facebook in those days. You didn't know. No picture cards. You didn't know. It was good. Yankel Galinsky said the first time he saw himself on a picture card that the kids were playing with, he felt so great. He passed by a bunch of kids, and one of them said, Tachlifli, Chamesh Galinsky, L'chad Rav Shach. I said, forget it. It wasn't worth it. The whole thing. Kavod is not worth it, I'm telling you. So it was Reb Chaim HaKohen Rappa was the Rav. He told the Shagas Aryeh, stop your Golis and become Rav over here. So the people in the city of Metz, I think it was in France, he said that we should take a 78-year-old Rav. He said, how long do you want me to be a rabbi for? They said, at least 20 years. So he said, fine, you got your 20 years. And the Shagas Aryeh was Rav for 20 years in Metz. And he was nifter, not because he was sick. He took out a sefer and a Svarim Shan came crashing down on it. And he said afterwards that it was because he was very sharp against the Rishonim. And he said everybody was moichel me except one of them. He knew exactly which one was not moichel. But the legend is that there was a man who died in the Kehillah in Metz, and his wife had died before, and he left a karlach to Kiyasim. And according to the law then, it was the child went to the church. The Shagas Arya hid the child, and the church found out about it, and they stole the child. So the Shagas Arya got a hold of a Yid, Ogafarna Yid, whose job was that he sold uniforms to the church. And he would go in there and deal with the galachas. So he had access to the monastery. Tell you a terrible joke? Can you delete this after I say it? No? Can't? The guy says, he's selling on Amazon. He's making so much money. He says, no. He says, finally says people are deep in prayer. Maybe you could sell a Bible, the other kind of Bible. Maybe I could sell it and make some money. I can get a good deal on it. I'm just buying it and selling it. I'm not really having enough from it. He held it was mutter. He's not sure why, but he held it was mutter. He was going to call a Rav, he just never got around to it. So he calls up the guy selling these Bibles. He goes, you have the Bibles? He says, yeah. He goes, how many? He wants to try to sound very English. How many you have? As many as you want. You think you can market it? Like, I can market it on Amazon. Yeah. So finally he says, okay, give me 800 of them. And the guy says to him in a real Hasidic Yiddish, mit Yozel or the Metun Yozel? Mit the picture for Yozel drauf or the Metun? Do you want with the picture of, who on top, or which ones do you want? I'll give it to you. So this Yid came into the church. So the Shagas Arya called him over. He said, I want you to find out where the kid is, and I want you to steal him out. He said, it'll be curtains for me if they catch me. And I'm barely Shema Shabbos. So the Shagas Arya promised him, Imi b'mchitzas, you're going to be buried next to me. And Kachava, he went into the church, and whatever the Pirchei version of the story takes many, many weeks, so I'll spare you. But he manages to get the kid out, and then he runs away. They get the kid out of the country. And later, this guy, the Shagas Arya, passes away. Several years later, he passes away. Nobody knows the story. Of course, he wasn't going to tell the story to anyone, because all he needed was the word should get out. He's the one that took the kid out. He's finished. Then he called in the Chevra Kadisha before he was going to die. And he said, the Shagas Arya said I should be buried next to him. And they said, uh-huh. No, really? Uh-huh. No, the Shagas Arya said. Did he give it to you in writing? No. Right. So you're going to do it? Tell him I'm not going to lie to him. And he's like, but. And he dies. And the Chevra Kadisha takes him out, and as the story goes, there is a tremendous storm. Rain. I learned this trick from Yitzi Herbs. It's pouring like anything, lightning and thunder. And the Chevra Kadisha thinks that they're going to be blown away, literally. They can't see an inch ahead of them. The water is gushing on all sides. Let's just bury him wherever he is. We'll rebury him tomorrow. They just rebury him where they are, and they run for their lives. And they come back the next day, and they see he's buried next to the Shagas Arya. So they understood this was the Hashgacha. Rabbi say, why did the Shagas Arya need a storm? Why couldn't he just leave him a piece of paper that says, be buried next to me? I guess there are certain things that only come through storms. There's only certain madregas in our life that we can be zoicha to only through a storm. If not, it's not there. If not, it can't come. The Shagas Arya knew that this Agmas Nefesh is part of the Yeshua. Yes, there's a promise. It's going to be Imi b'mchitzasi. He's going to be buried next to the Shagas Arya. But only because he's willing to go through a storm. And the storm we're going through now is preparing Yeshuas for us. But we have to be here. We have to be ready. We have to turn on the light. It's the third time in a row I'm saying the Vart because it floors me. Moshe Rabbeinu hits the stone instead of talks to the stone. Why? Why did he just talk to the stone? He couldn't find it. The stone got mixed up between the other stones. So he said, I don't know which stone it is. I don't know what it said. He didn't say, what's the difference? Which stone? Every stone is a nest. Just hit it. So Moshe hits the stone and the water comes out. If you didn't know which stone it is anyway, why couldn't you talk to any stone? How come when it comes to talking, he needed to know which stone it was? When it comes to hitting, says Moshe, you could hit anybody. To talk, the Eibishter prepares who you can talk to in your life. That's your spouse. Those are your children. your in-laws, the people sitting next to you in shul, the people sitting next to you on a bus. That's b'hashgacha pratis. Talking are appointments that a Kadosh Baruch Hu makes. Hitting, you could hit anybody. That's no kins. They say that the Pnei Menachem came to view the classes. They took him to a class. They wanted to show him the Rebbe, what a good Rebbe he is. And it was the Rebbe had walked out. He didn't know the Rebbe was coming. And the kids were all sitting there like this. And the Rebbe wasn't even in the room. The principal said, you see what control he has? And they say the Pnei Menachem said, he's a Ritzeach. That the kids should be so scared of him when he's not there. That's not called controlling. Controlling is talking to them. Having a yachas with them. You could hit any stone. Talking means you believe in Hashgacha Pratis. That we believe in who we are. So I saw a story today in the Dirshu Pesach, beautiful story, of someone who's not a Yid. And he lives next to a Yid and he runs out in the morning and he's terrified. And the Yid says to him, well, what's the problem? He says, my boss said if I come late one more day, I'm doomed. He says, I woke up late, now my car doesn't start and someone's blocking my driveway. It's rotten luck. So the Yid tells him, we call it divine providence. What does that mean? Zamazbra Yuvan, you know what I mean? Right? He said to him, you do what you have to do. Hashem, God's guiding you. Get onto the train, go to work. My boss will fire me. Get onto the train, go to work. And say, God, I'm doing what I can. I never heard anything like that. He gets onto the train, he goes to work, and he comes there, and as he's coming, there's this terrible smell for miles around. And the boss is standing, he goes, you heard about the explosion? And the terrible sewer pipe that burst, and you still came in? Wow! So he came back, and he told the Yid, I should have been fired. It has to be your God. He says, not my God. He's God of the entire world. He said, I want to give you one salary, 1 month's salary. I said, I'm not taking 1 month's salary. Who are we? By virtue of who we are, we have to be mispal in the morning. Baruch HaMakadosh Shemai B'Rabin. So I want you to listen to this differently. I don't like reading from inside, especially if you don't have the text in front of you, but I think this piece is Kedai. You have your piece is Kedai. When the people came and they didn't have a carbon, they wanted a Pesach Sheni, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu, they said, Moshe, what should we do? What should we do? Lomani Gora, Levilti, everyone wants to be marked the carbon Pesach. Shh! Imdu ve'eshma, stand and you will hear what Hashem will say. Ketalmid ha'muftach l'shmoya mipi rabbi. Says Rashi. Can you imagine? I don't know, could we use baby whites on Pesach? Could you carry in the Erev? I will listen to what Hashem says. That'd be pretty good, no? Ashrei yilud isha shekach muftach. Shekolz man sheyeroitzay medaber mashchina. Wait a second, in fact, the Devi Yecheskel. In this week's parsha, there's a whole different story. The Bnei Salavchad came and they asked him, what's the halacha? We don't have any brothers. And Moshe was stumped. Why? Says so Chazal say it was an einish. Because Moshe Rabbeinu said, "V'adover sheyikshem mikem takriven alai yishmativ." Oh, you're so sure you have all the answers? Yeah, you don't have the answer. And Moshe never entered Lefnaya Lefnim until he was called. So I don't understand. No manavshach. What's the right attitude? Is the right attitude, don't worry, Hashem always answers me? Or is the right, I don't know. Which one is which? By the Bnei Salavchad, Moshe was punished. And here by Karban Pesach. So listen to the words of the Shin of the Rav. Ache inyan kachi. The anoshim atmeim bepesach, Rishon, the person that would tmeim, bo b'moris nafshem l'fnei Moshe Rabbeinu al Hashem, they came. V'amru b'leiv nishbar v'nitka. We missed the Karban Pesach. No camp this year. No yeshiva. Lo mani gara mitach klal Yisrael. Levilti hikar v'skarban Hashem b'mayadei. We know nothing. We just want to do the mitzvah. We want to do what's right. Kasher Ra Moshe Rabbeinu Hashalom shiftless ruchan. We don't have to understand. We have no complaints. We just want to do what's right. We want to turn on the light. You want to have amunah in Hashem. Moshe had absolutely no shaila. That right there and then there's a shras hashchina. Leiv nishba v'nitka lekim leisivza. He said imdu ve'eshem ma'yitzav Hashem lechem. Says the Shin of Barav when a yid comes and says, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing this summer. I don't know what I'm doing with my kids. I don't know where the world is going. No problem. You have no problem. The Eibishter is going to guide you. Don't worry about it. Look at this world. Just look where the world is going. Think back to what happened this year. Think back to Jersey City and Muncie. and I'm not making an equivalent, but like our world was turning over because of shopping bags, right? No more shopping bags. Can't be anything worse than that, right? The police are going to stop you, going to have a shopping bag full of marijuana, and they're going to arrest you for the shopping bag, right? That's what we thought. No more foam cups. Hi, And then all of a sudden, some virus in China, and there was some virus in China, right? The riots, an unraveling of social structure. What's happening? We're not getting our way? Really, everyone's out to get us? We're the soft target. We're the punching bag. And now a Gal Sheni. What's going on in Eretz Yisrael? And of all times to blow up a nuclear reactor, you have to do it now. Apparently, Kodesh Baruch Hu is running the world. And if we're going to try to manipulate the world, we are in big, big trouble. Said it last week. There was this kid who gave in his test. He knew he was in trouble. He slipped a $100 bill with a paper clip, and he wrote to the teacher, "You can keep $1 per point that you give me." He got back $56 change. Understand? He got a 64, right? Is my math good? Don't try to manipulate the world. Don't try to point direction. Turn on the lights. Turn on the lights. Rav Schachter Zechan Levracha was a Yosem. He did a shidduch. Shafkin did a good job on him. Found a very, very good shidduch. His father-in-law was a Gevir Adir. When he got Rav Schachter, they said to him, "What do you have to give? How many diras? How many talaisim? How much money do you have to put down?" Didn't ask for anything. Didn't ask for anything. They did the shidduch. Yeah, so yes, shidduch. They went to, "You're going to give him a dira." He didn't ask for it. I don't have to. Not mechuyev. It's not on the contract. Yosher. Yosher. So they told her, his friends told him, drop the shidduch. Not dropping the shidduch. All of his friends that were half the Shem Dover that he was, all had houses. He lived in a tiny little apartment. And when everyone said, there's this Hitler, a madman, it's a passing phase. His rhetoric is so extreme. If his rhetoric would be less, it's so extreme, it's impossible. Don't worry about it. He told his wife, "Why don't we just leave town just in case? Nobody else could leave. Well, should we have to first sell our properties? I can't just leave." They had a little deal, a big deal. They packed up their suitcase and left. And they were the only ones that survived. The ones that are in the oil survives. It doesn't mean that if you have a house, you're doomed. Chas v'shalom. But you can have a house, and the house is in oil. House is in oil. So I say this word many times. I once had this course. I took my class of Matisyoy Salom, Zalzain Gesund and Stark, for Shalema, and he asked the boys, says, "Ve'esa eschem al kanfei neshar." In what way are eagles different than other birds? He said, the other birds carry their young underneath them. The eagle puts his bird on top because he flies through the air. He doesn't have to worry. He flies the highest. So he said, but there's a difference. The other birds are being held by their mother. The baby eagles, the mother doesn't hold on to them. The baby eagles have to hold on to their mother. So he said, it's ve'esa eschem al kanfei neshar. We're going to fly on the wings of an eagle, but you're going to have to hold on to your mother. You're going to have to say, the chassan's on the next boat. You're going to have to say, which direction, I don't know. But I'm asking you, Rabbeinu Shalom, let me be a vehicle of Kiddush Hashem, not Chas v'Shalom Chilul Hashem. And it's a very, very confusing world. And instead of me pointing which way the train should go, you direct me. You just help me to be able to turn on the light.
Shem Egan Shir Torah, Mr. Boston, I'd like to give a big Yashikayach to Rabbi Schachter for tonight's inspiring Josh. I'd like to give a big Yashikayach to Mr. and Mrs. Noach Karas, sponsoring tonight's Shir, the Nishmas Isha Gittel Chanabas, Varna Kohen, Allah Shalom, and Rabbi Chaim Yitzchak, Ben Avrom Zchayin and Rocha. What I would like to have is Chus sponsoring a Shir of a Chaylik Nabatz's Torah, the Rabbim, call Egan Shir Torah 718-851-8651, or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. Shikayach.